You know that feeling, right? When you're really trying to learn something new,
Hmm.
maybe a work skill or like a complex hobby,
Oh, yeah.
and it just feels like, well, like work, like you're just grinding through steps, checking off boxes.
Hmm. Hitting those targets someone else set, it can feel really rigid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That structured path, that's kind of how we usually think about learning, isn't it? And
Yeah.
how we measure, mastery.
Yeah, exactly. Step by step, get assessed, prove you've hit a certain level of competence. Very linear.
Totally. But what if there was a completely different way to look at what real competence, like true expertise, actually looks like?
Okay.
Something that isn't about that rigid structure, but something else.
Well, that's exactly what our source for this deep dive gets into. We're looking at a piece by Jose Fernando Costa.
Okay.
It's called Play as an Indicator of Mastery, and it just came out April 23, 2025.
Right. Play is an indicator of mastery. So let's unpack this. Our mission here is really to get inside Costa's core ideas because he's suggesting that play, something we usually think is, totally separate from serious learning, is actually a really powerful signal of true mastery.
It's a really compelling argument he makes. It's not just that you play after you're an expert. Costa's saying the ability to play within your field. That says a lot about your progress.
Okay.
And at the highest levels, it really shows deep confidence, that kind of effortless fluency, and importantly, the ability to actually innovate.
So before we get too far ahead, how does the source actually define mastery? And maybe more importantly, what does it mean by play here? Because I'm guessing it's not just goofing off.
Right. Yeah, definitely not just messing around.
Yeah.
So traditionally, like we said, mastery is seen as achieving high competence expertise,
Mm.
usually through structured learning, measurable stuff.
Okay, the standard definition. And Costa builds on that.
He does, but he brings in this idea that play gives us a unique way to see a certain kind of mastery, the kind that looks, well, effortless.
Effortless, okay.
It's not just about being good at something. It's about how that skill shows up when the pressure's off, maybe, when the constraints are loosened.
And this play, what's the definition there?
So in Costa's context, play is really about creativity, exploration, and experimentation within the domain itself.
Ah, within the domain.
Yes, it's an active engagement, not just like passive fun. Think about confidently sort of fiddling with the elements of a skill you know really well.
Right, so actively, creatively messing with the stuff you know deeply.
Exactly. And the source's main point is that this kind of play, it's a clear indicator of mastery because it reflects that deep confidence, that effortless fluency, and the ability to innovate.
You wouldn't dare try that stuff if you weren't really sure of your fundamentals.
Precisely, you need that solid ground to jump off from.
That makes a lot of sense. It points to a different kind of understanding than just, following the recipe.
Hmm.
So this brings us to the relationship between this playful mastery and those more traditional learning frameworks. How does the source contrast them?
Well, it's quite a different focus, isn't it? Traditional mastery learning is often very sequential.
Like learn A, get feedback, maybe fix something, then learn B.
Exactly. Hitting specific benchmarks along a set path. Linear progression.
And play. Well, that doesn't sound very linear.
Not at all. Costa emphasizes that play allows for a kind of free-flowing learning setting. You're
Yep.
pushing boundaries, exploring connections, trying things out,
Mm.
and crucially, doing it without the fear of failure. That's key. The goal isn't the benchmark, it's exploring the possibilities within the space.
That without fear of failure bit feels huge because that kind of freedom seems totally missing in many traditional settings, right? Where it's all about the grade, the score.
Absolutely. It's often absent because the focus is so much on those measurable outcomes, passing the test, rather than just open-ended exploration.
And that pressure can kill the playful impulse.
You really can. The source points out this freedom is often missing. The system rewards performance against set criteria, which can actually discourage real experimentation. Costa gives some great examples.
Like music or sports?
Yeah, exactly. Think about a master musician improvising.
Just riffing.
Right. Weaving together complex melodies, rhythms spontaneously. Or a master athlete trying, unexpected strategies or moves right in the middle of a game.
They aren't just doing the drills perfectly, they're playing with the game itself.
Precisely. These are acts of creative play within their domain. And they show more than just technical skill, right? They show a really deep, internalized understanding and confidence. That's what allows that spontaneity.
Okay, so play isn't just about being creative, it's actually evidence of fluency. How does Costa make that connection?
Well, fluency in anything means you can do it smoothly, efficiently,
Mm.
often without really thinking consciously about every single step.
Like driving a car, maybe? After a while, you just do it.
Good example.
Yeah.
Becomes automatic, effortless execution.
So how does playing show that?
The source argues play is strong evidence of fluency because it shows your basic skills are so internalized, so automatic, that you don't need conscious effort for them anymore.
No.
And that frees up your mental energy, your cognitive resources, to then manipulate those skills creatively, to explore and experiment.
Like the writing example in the source.
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration. Students who've really mastered grammar, sentence structure, they don't have to painstakingly build every sentence, right?
That just flows.
It flows. The mechanics are automatic. And because those basics are fluent, they can then start to play with language. They can experiment with unconventional styles or voice, or maybe deliberately break a grammar rule for a specific effect.
Ah, okay. So the very ability to confidently step outside the normal rules is actually proof you understand those rules so deeply. You know how and when to bend them.
Exactly. That ability to play outside the usual constraints, that highlights genuine mastery. And Costa connects this playful side to motivation too.
How does that work?
Well, play, by its nature, tends to foster intrinsic motivation. It's usually self-directed, right? Driven by curiosity about what's possible.
Rather than just trying to get the grade or please the teacher.
Precisely. It's not solely focused on those external rewards or benchmarks.
Yeah.
This kind of deep engagement usually reflects a genuine passion, a real integrated understanding, not just mimicking instructions.
Okay, so play sounds pretty great. Powerful sign of deep understanding, intrinsic motivation. But if it's such a clear indicator, why isn't it more, built into how we normally teach and learn?
Yeah, that's a key challenge the source definitely acknowledges. Trying to integrate real, genuine play into traditional learning structures. It presents some real difficulties.
I can see the clash. Structured, assessment-heavy world versus free-flowing, maybe messy experimentation.
Exactly that. Traditional frameworks prioritize that linear progress, those measurable outcomes. There's such a strong emphasis on assessment, hitting standards.
Right.
And the source argues that this focus can actually kind of discourage the instinct to play.
Yeah.
It frames learning more like a race to the finish line, to the benchmark, rather than an open field for exploration.
So students might just aim for the minimum needed for the grade instead of really digging in, playing with ideas.
That's exactly the example Costa uses. Students focusing on hitting the grade number instead of truly experimenting with the concepts. And that, unfortunately, limits their creative engagement and probably their deeper understanding, too.
And then there's the idea that some subjects just feel too rigid for play, like math or science.
Yeah, the source notes that, too. Some fields seem resistant because they demand such precision, following established procedures.
You have to get the right answer, follow the method.
Right. Math or science often prioritize that single correct answer via specific methods. So playful experimentation might seem like it leads you astray, away from the established norms.
Makes it hard to just mess around.
It does. But, and this is the source's nuance here, even in these seemingly rigid domains, playful experimentation can still indicate mastery.
How so?
Think about creative problem solving, trying different, maybe unconventional ways to reach the same correct answer, or exploring the edges of a theorem, testing its boundaries.
Ah, so it's not about getting the wrong answer through play, but finding new ways to engage with the right concepts.
Exactly. It's about confidently and creatively manipulating the tools and ideas within that domain, even if it's a precise one. That still shows deep understanding.
So bringing it all together then, what's the source's main takeaway on this? Play as an indicator of mastery.
The core point is really clear. Play is a powerful sign of mastery. It reflects that deep fluency, that confidence, and that creativity that goes way beyond just being competent on paper.
And it really stands in contrast to just hitting targets or following rules blindly.
Right. While traditional learning often focuses on that structured path and the measurable results, play highlights someone's ability to engage freely, effortlessly, innovatively within their field. It shows an understanding that maybe tests alone can't capture.
And you mentioned motivation. It also makes learning more enjoyable, presumably.
Absolutely. It fosters that intrinsic motivation, encourages exploration. Play not only demonstrates mastery, but can seriously boost the joy of learning and doing.
So the bottom line for educators, or anyone guiding learning.
The source's final takeaway seems to be about balance. To really cultivate deep mastery, you need to balance that necessary structured instruction, building the fundamentals, with real opportunities for learners to engage in playful experimentation.
So maybe true mastery isn't just about ticking off those boxes or hitting the external targets we're often given. Maybe it's about reaching a level of understanding and comfort where you can truly just play in that space.
Yeah, it shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just proving competence to effortlessly and creatively expressing it.
Which leaves a really interesting thought for you, the listener, based on what Costa's source suggests. Given that play signals this deep, effortless understanding, how might you deliberately bring more playful exploration into something you're trying to master right now? Whether that's for work, a hobby, or just learning something new.